What is up, Bitcoiners? This was an absolutely stellar episode of the Bitcoin Magazine podcast. I had an awesome panel of guests talking about all things Bitcoin in Latin America. I had Diego, the co-founder of RSK, the CEO of IOV Labs and Riff Infrastructure. I had Max of Money on Chain. They are building a pro-Bitcoin, Bitcoin-backed dollar stable coin token on RSK. And I had Mauricio from Tropykus Finance, and they are building, leverage and lending and all of these other finance primitives that are necessary in order to have a more complex financial institution. These gentlemen are on the ground in Latin America, on the ground in the Spanish-speaking part of the Bitcoin ecosystem, and they have been evangelizing for a very long time, building for a very long time, and now it's undeniable with the El Salvador news. It is time for Spanish-speaking Bitcoin to have the spotlight, and the world is looking at El Salvador, and these gentlemen know what is happening on the streets much better than here, us folks here in the US or other parts of the world. They are on the ground in Latin America, and they are making Bitcoin adoption happen. I think you guys are going to love this podcast. Before we get into it, I want to tell you about the deep dive from Bitcoin Magazine. My man, Dylan LeClaire, he is an absolute legend. He has been putting together some really, really fantastic articles, analysis, daily updates on all the things that are happening in the Bitcoin financial markets, things that are happening on chain, everything Bitcoin market based. He is on top of it. He's talking about the best news. We are giving out a free 1-month trial to his amazing work over at Bitcoin Magazine. Go to premium.bitcoinmagazine.com to sign up and use promo code BITS in order to get 1 month for free. And y'all, if you are trading Bitcoin, if you are trying to increase your stack, if you're just trying to learn more about what is the most important thing happening in the market, you need to sign up for this newsletter, and you need to sign up for Dylan to follow him on Twitter. And, if you're not going to want to pay for the newsletter, go follow Dylan on Twitter at BTCization. He is just dropping knowledge nonstop. He's really the man, and the deep dive is high quality shit. But until then, have a great day and listen to this amazing podcast with Diego, Max, and Mauricio about Bitcoin adoption in Latin America. Bitcoiners, on the aftermath of the groundbreaking news of El Salvador making Bitcoin legal tender, I am lucky to have and host this fantastic panel of movers and shakers, people on the front lines of bringing Bitcoin and cryptocurrency to South America. I am sitting here across from Diego, the CEO of Riff and RSK, Mauricio, the CEO of Tropical, and Max, the CEO of Money on Chain. Gentlemen, I'm so excited to chat with you about the El Salvador news, about what is happening in South America and what is happening on the technology that you all are building. So without further ado, let's just get into some brief introductions, and then we can dive into reactions about El Salvador. Let's start with you, Mauricio. Why don't you introduce yourself, tell the audience a little bit about what you're building, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, for sure. My name is Mauricio Tovar. Thank you very much, Christian, for inviting me. It's an honor to be here with Dieguito and with Max. I've been in the space for the past 6 years, starting understanding the value of Bitcoin. But to be very honest, in the first 2 meetings that I went, I didn't understand anything. But I have an academic background and works. So I started to do some research with my team. And we found also the smart contracts, and we start to work on Solidity in Ethereum. And a year ago, we started a company, a consulting company, and looking for all the problems that we are facing, the founders of Tropykus Finance, that it's a startup that we are starting right now with our founders. Some of them, or some of us, have some very critical problems around the access to credit. And for example, our CTO, whose name is Angel, he's been trying to have a loan for buying his house for the past 3 years, and the banks have been rejecting him systematically. And also, I have to pay my master study 2 times and the loan, and I can do it because I paid early. And Diego, who is from Spain and lives in Colombia because he's married with a Colombian, he have a very expensive love because he's losing his money is losing a lot of value if you compare it with the euro. But also in countries like Colombia, and this is a fact, a recent fact, it's legal to charge 56% of microloans by financial institution, 56% of annual interest rate. So we found out problems, and we found RSK that takes the best words, the best of Bitcoin and the best of Ethereum, who we have experience developing in for the past 5 years. And we developed these solutions that trying to not only offer better and more fair loans to Latin Americans, but also to incentivize Bitcoiners to yield their Bitcoins, and at the same time to help Latin Americans to access to that for fair loan. So yeah, that's Tropykus, and that's me. Thank you very much.
Mauricio, again, excited to have you on and to get your on the ground knowledge. Let's go to Diego next. Diego, I mean, I don't think you really need an introduction. Started RSK. I remember watching you in Miami at North American Bitcoin Conference when it launched. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris. And yeah, I'm also I started in Bitcoin in 2012 and started creating the Bitcoin community in Latin America, now in also Ibero-America, with Spain added to the communities. And also I'm the co-founder of RSK. So clearly we have been waiting for this moment, no, where Latin America finally is picking up, and we are seeing Bitcoins becoming more and more of connected to the financial foundations of the region. No, that was both projects, both the NGO and RSK. I started with my co-founders with the aims of bringing Bitcoin to Latin America and making it useful for everybody, because Bitcoin as a reserve asset, it's very important. It creates a neutral reserve asset that is not attached to any political faction, but it's not enough if you want to serve everybody, because 80% of the population cannot store value for medium to long term. No, so you need, you need to connect these with the stable assets to have all the financial services that people need, and that is the work we have been doing on both sides, on the NGO, the Bitcoin Latin America and Ibero-America NGO, and on RSK, like building the technology and helping an ecosystem grow that will provide these financial services. And Mauricio and Max are great examples of this, ecosystem that keeps growing and bringing, to Bitcoin all the features that we need on a full-fledged financial system. No?
Yeah, no, I love it. And it's just, it's something that happens in layers and then gradually and then suddenly. So it's exciting to see a lot of the hard work starting to pay off. Max, Money on Chain has been on fire. I remember I heard about the project maybe like 2 years ago. But, again, it takes time. Welcome to the show. And why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you. Well, I am Max Cajurzaa. I've been in the space since I think like 10 years ago. We started Money on Chain 3 years ago with thinking about that Bitcoin is the best collateral that you can have to make a stable coin. And at the same time, making a stable coin that uses Bitcoin as collateral is a kind of give Bitcoins to let the masses use Bitcoins, because you can use Bitcoin for a lot of things, but general public is not very comfortable with the volatility. As Diego explained, when Bitcoin is great for long-term money, but it's not so good for short-term money. So with the dollar on chain, we try to create this, or actually we create this short-term money backed by Bitcoin. And to make this happen, we created another token that is called the BitPro. The BitPro is a token that lets Bitcoin holders to earn, to increase the amount of sats they hold.
Yeah, so I mean, again, a two-sided marketplace. I know Mauricio is trying to bring Bitcoins online onto RSK by bringing that kind of incentive to earn more sats, and money on chain is a way to do that too. As well as you also have a third token, right? The Bitcoin, the 2x Bitcoin.
Yes, the 2x Bitcoin is not actually a token, but it's a 2x position in the price of Bitcoin. It works like a token, but actually it's not a token. And then we have a fourth token that is a MOC token, that is the token to govern the platform.
Yep. All right. So that's where it comes full circle. The full, the emerging DeFi stack on RSK. And again, just advocates for Bitcoin in general. Gentlemen, I want to talk about your reactions to what is happening in El Salvador. I want to start with you, Diego. When you heard the news in Miami, did you expect it? What was the first thing that came to mind?
I mean, I think we all were expecting this for many years, but we didn't know who was going to be the first mover. No, it's like there's something that is, I mean, small jurisdictions, they have more to earn than to lose by doing, more audacious moves. No, it's like so we were expecting like a small. I think El Salvador is 6 million people. I mean, it's not that small, but what I mean is like the smaller countries always have like more to gain from making these changes, because the status quo is dominated by the big powers of the world. So they see an opportunity. We didn't know who was going to be the first mover, and there are other small jurisdictions that have been working a lot on the regulatory framework and things. But yeah, I mean, it was a very happy news. At the same time, I think, there's a lot of things that need to be connected. I mean, Bitcoin alone, as we were describing, it's not enough if you want to really run the nation's economy. So, but at the same time, I'm happy that this is happening in a moment where the RSK ecosystem has reached certain level of maturity where it can bring solutions to this problem. So I think it's a huge opportunity for the RSK ecosystem. We have been working, for 6 years in building as you say, all these layers, no? Because it's like having smart contracts, like the economic coordination layer on top of Bitcoin, secured by the Bitcoin miners, then having stable assets that don't have counterparty risk or third-party risk, like money on chain is providing. So then you have a dollar that is pegged and backed by Bitcoin and has full conversion via protocols. So you don't need third parties to actually exchange a dollar on chain for Bitcoin and backwards. So that's the bridge between Bitcoin in El Salvador, for example, and a stable asset or low volatility economy. And then you have the basic financial services also built, like what Tropykus is building in terms of lending, borrowing. Then you have Sovereign also providing margin trading. There are other protocols coming. So I think, and then you have the risk protocols that scale all these things and make it easy to use, so people can have the same experience they have with the neobank, but on fully decentralized infrastructure secured by Bitcoin. So if you ask me, it's like, on one side, I say, oops, like they made a bold move, and I don't think they understood all the dimensions of bringing like a full country into Bitcoin at once. On the other side, I said, I'm very happy that this is happening now. If it happened like 3 years ago, I don't think we would be like ready to offer solutions and help. And indeed, I'm talking with the majors of 13 cities in El Salvador, and basically starting like an educational process. And then the idea is to bring the tools and the ecosystem to help in this process, no? So yeah, I mean, I was very happy, surprised, happy, like, and worried a little bit as well. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think in general, I don't think that anyone in El Salvador, especially not the leadership, knew how voracious and excited the Bitcoin community is. And I feel like all eyes have been on El Salvador now for almost 3 weeks now, and it hasn't let up. There's just more and more people going, fleeing in, and other countries are taking notice too. And I think that they're seeing an opportunity.
yes.
Yeah, back to you, Diego.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think this is creating a crack because you have the big policymakers of the world like pushing for policies that are completely anti-crypto. Like, one thing is the travel rule where it applies to financial intermediaries, and I think that's the right way to do it. It's like you work with the financial institutions, the regulated financial institutions, but now the latest policies are making crypto like any peer-to-peer transaction in crypto, be require the same compliance as a bank interacting with another bank, which is crazy. So, the El Salvador move is happening at the same time. We see a lot of pressure, basically, to stifle the innovation that Bitcoin is bringing to the world, because that's the only reason I can think of, making policies that are impossible to fulfill. No, it's like you do that because then you have a hanging sword on the head of everybody that you can use at any time. So I think this is a crack, and other countries will follow, and that tension will happen, and then regulation will need to give up at a certain level, and of course technology will need to comply at a certain level. No, this is a dialogue between the status quo and these new innovations, but it's great that we are in this process.
I think that's a great take. Mauricio, I want to jump to you. What was your reaction? I know you were in Miami too.
Yeah, it was a surprise for me, and no doubt that it's an amazing news for the Bitcoin ecosystem around the world. But I think the challenge is to make this a good news also for the people of the El Salvador, because there are also a lot of challenges implementing this law. There is a lot of limitation of the access to internet. There is a lot of limitation to access to smartphones, the education to use technology, the financial education. It's very important, and I think we can also convert those problems and challenges in an opportunity, but we have to join efforts to help not only the people in Salvador, but in general the Spanish-speaking people to understand better how they can benefit with Bitcoin and with the DeFi for Bitcoin ecosystem in this case. But first, I think we need to understand the needs of the people, to see what they are seeing about these of the people of the Salvador, seeing what are their problems and how we can help, and how Bitcoin can fix that kind of problems. I believe that the RSK ecosystem can play an important role on this. And another aspect that I think that is key is that we need to empower people, because this starts with the politicians. I have a lot of experience with politicians, and I learned to not trust a lot on them. And I think that if we can help to the people of El Salvador, so that these movements becomes a citizen movement and a community and a private movement, it will be great for the future, and to give less power to the politician. I think that is what we can help, and that's one of the reasons why I'm going to El Salvador in the next days.
Yeah, I mean, just to follow up on that, what are you going to be doing in your trip?
Just talking with the, for example, the Bitcoin Beach that is the part of the El Salvador in El Zonte, that starts. They are like a community that are transacting, paying with Bitcoin for almost 2 years, and the president saw that. That was the inspiration for them, for him, for the law. So I'm going to go in there to talk with them, to talk with the regular people. Maybe we will do some meetup. And yeah, my idea is to understand very well what is happening there right now, that they have the law, and to understand how we can help, how Tropykus can help in that regard. And yeah, it's to learn, understand, and see how can we help.
Awesome. All right, Max, let's jump to you. I want to get your take on the groundbreaking news of El Salvador making Bitcoin legal tender.
Well, I was very excited to know about that, the big news. I think that Salvador is a great country to do this because they are a small country, and they don't have their own currency. They are using US dollars today, so that put them in a unique position. I think nothing can go wrong with this for El Salvador. I think they are going to get some foreign investment, for example, in mining and probably in financial services for the people. I think that it's very important to educate people about Bitcoin in particular and cryptocurrency in general in El Salvador. We have the responsibility as a community to give that information to people in El Salvador.
Awesome. And are you planning a trip down to El Salvador at some point?
Oh, yes, definitely. We are going to El Salvador before.
Let's go together, Max.
Sorry, I didn't get you. Sorry?
So,
yeah, let's go together. Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Just coordinate the trips. There's people from the community already there. We have been talking as well. So I think
I'm curious if any of you have any thoughts about the law itself. I saw, people from Coin Center in the United States didn't like that, it was making Bitcoin legal tender in a way that it was like people were required to use Bitcoin and accept Bitcoin. I'm just kind of curious, what are if any of you have any kind of thoughts on the actual bill and the implementation?
I think maybe Max can...
a reaction almost like 3 or 4 days later. I started thinking about, but forcing people to accept Bitcoin is not why I joined this community in the first place. But after all, they are not forcing people to accept Bitcoin. People can convert to US dollars if they don't want the Bitcoin. The government will put a mechanism in place, and if the government doesn't make a good job doing that, well, they can use money on chain and get away of the Bitcoin volatility.
Okay, so people have options. That's Max's opinion. Any other, you don't have to focus specifically on the forcing of use of Bitcoin, but Mauricio, Diego, do you have any thoughts here?
No, I think my first reflections were in the same ways. Like we got into Bitcoin because we want to provide people freedom. So any imposition is a little bit against the ethos that we are chasing. Even if we think that Bitcoin as a reserve of value is the best reserve of value in the world, we don't want that to be imposed on anybody. We want people to choose because they understand the consequences of having Bitcoin as a neutral and open reserve of value. But at the same time, when you do look deeper, people has the option to move to other assets, stable assets, and stay in Bitcoin only if they can do so because they can store it for longer period of time and they want to do so. And if you think about it, it's much easier to move from Bitcoin to something else because of its digital and global nature than it is to move from Bitcoin to move from the dollar to something else. So in that sense, given the frictionless nature of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, And if you use layer 2 solutions like RSK, Lightning, the very low cost of operation, then it's great, because then people will choose, actually be able to choose freely. They are not restricted to, because if you want to use the dollar in Latin America, usually you need to, it needs to be accepted, or you need to go to third parties to exchange it for the local currency. In the case of El Salvador, as they were already in a dollar-based economy, they didn't have the intermediation, but still was more restricted. With Bitcoin, they can go anywhere in the world. They can exchange it for any asset they like. And that will come with some learning lessons as well, no? Because I think, you need to understand where, if this freedom will come with some learning lessons in terms of like people buying something else with Bitcoin, and maybe if it's another cryptocurrency of not the same quality, there might be some problems there. But I think it's a process that we need to go through, and the society needs to learn more and more about these things. And the price for freedom, if you want, is knowledge. You have to develop knowledge. No?
Absolutely. Mauricio, I want to give you a chance at this as well. Did you have any thoughts regarding this? And maybe as the follow-up here is also, as you all are advocates for this technology, I'm sure you'll have conversations that potentially might lead to laws in other countries. How would you take lessons and guide them? But I'm going to go to you, Mauricio. What's your feedback on the law itself?
When I read the law, I was surprised because it was very specific and short. But at the beginning, I said, "This is a good law. It's like a very fair law," and it's. But after that, I start to see Max 2 days later, some specific things, like it was something like mandatory in one article, but in another article, the law said it's not mandatory for the people that cannot access the technology or the different mediums to use it. But I have to confess that when I first heard about the announcement of the president, because I was in the conference, but I was in a meeting, so I wasn't in exactly the moment that the president appears in the conference in a video. I was reading about some topics about El Salvador, and I saw some news about some actions that was a little dictatorial from that president. And my first thought was, why this country? Because there is some suspicious about that actions of the president. But also there is another version about the president that is a very young people that is trying to change some things in the country. But to summarize, I think that for being a very short law, it's a good one when you read it at the beginning. But I was first very concerned about the past of the president, the recent past. Actually, that was my first thoughts about it.
I think, Chris, you muted.
Yeah. No. So I want to jump in, and I apologize to change the subject, but I do want to get all of your takes on this. But I guess let's start with you, Mauricio. Based on your understanding, how far, what is the penetration of Bitcoin understanding, approval, acceptance, in South America, in Latin America right now? Obviously things are happening on the ground and there's a need, but there's also a massive informational kind of barrier to actually adopting this technology. Where do you think the continent is right now? Yeah,
I think that the understanding of Bitcoin and crypto in Latin America is easier than in other regions like US or Europe. The reason is because it really solves problems that we have in the regions that the other regions don't have. We have some common problems in different countries in Latin America, but we have also some differences. For example, we share problems to access to financial services, as Dieguito mentioned just a minute ago. But also, we have a lot of, more specifically, in access to credit. And in some countries, we have different problems, like in Venezuela or in Argentina, the problems of the inflation that Dieguito and Max can talk more about it. But yeah, when would you have those kind of problems, the people are looking for options, and Bitcoin and crypto makes more sense here to solve that kind of problems. And that's why, for example, Colombia in local Bitcoins is the third market in volume around the world, and Venezuela is the second one. Because there's a lot of Venezuelans living here in Colombia, like the diaspora of Venezuelans are mainly in Colombia, and they're trying to send money back to their relatives in Venezuela. Though that is one of the reasons why between Venezuela and Colombia, we have 25% of the total volume of local Bitcoin, according to local Bitcoin. So yeah, I think that it's very easier to understand in a population that have that kind of problems, and is different than other regions.
I think that was very thorough. Diego, do you want to jump in with your take on education and penetration of Bitcoin understanding and acceptance?
I think in terms of, we used to do something in the early days of Bitcoin that was asking people randomly in the street if they knew about Bitcoin. And like in the beginning, it was like 1 or 2 people every 10 that was telling you, yeah, and very, you could, like, I'm talking 2013, 2014, early days, and maybe 1 or 2 knew about it. So that was awareness, not really understanding of it. I think you very likely in Latin America, you can ask anybody randomly in the streets and they will tell you at least they heard about it and they have a notion of it. Of course, not all of them understand it or know what it is for. But no, so maybe in the people who is excluded from the financial system, it's less. There's less understanding. In the ones that are unconnected, that don't have access to a smartphone or the internet, is completely unknown. So maybe you have 20-25% of the population that is still completely detached from the phenomenon. But the remainder, 75%, already has some level of awareness, and many more in the middle class already understand that this is a store of value they can use to escape, the inflation and volatility. I think Mauricio did a great job, like depicting all the problems that Latin America shares. It's like unstable economies, most of the cases. Some of them are more stable, but unstable economies with big inflation, lack of access to the very basic financial services, like Mauricio mentioned, lending, and then remittances is a big problem because a lot of the money is lost. I mean, there's a lot of corridors, remittance corridors between different countries in Latin America, no? It's like Chile with Peru, Argentina with Venezuela, and for example, there is a great case, crypto market is using the money on chain protocols, to the stable assets on the money on chain protocols, to send money from Argentina to their family in Venezuela. Sometimes they use that money to buy things instead of just sending the money. So it's very interesting, the different patterns that are being found out. So those are the things that are happening. Latin America was always a place where people thought cryptocurrencies were going to make it. And I think now we are in a moment where that expectation might become a reality. It's like we are seeing this will be a domino effect. I have some, there's some senators in Paraguay that are already saying that they will push for Bitcoin regulation within their country. So I think this might be the beginning. I think this year is the beginning of mainstream adoption for crypto and Bitcoin in the world. And in particular in Latin America, this will create a momentum. And I don't know where it's going, but it might be quite a ride.
I have to say, it makes me very bullish on Latin America. Like Bitcoin in Latin America makes me want to go to Latin America. It really does make me bullish. Max, I want to jump to you about the penetration, and maybe you can give us a little bit more insight about, Krypton market and how they're using money on chain. Maybe you can even dive into these remittance corridors that Diego talked about.
Well, I agree with Diego about the awareness of Bitcoin in Latin America, especially in Argentina or Uruguay. Everybody know what Bitcoin is or have a notion about Bitcoin. I think in the understanding side, we have a lot of work to do. But anyway, I think the understanding is bigger in Latin America than in the first world, and that is basically because people do things with Bitcoin. Bitcoin solves real problem in Latin America. Regarding your question about crypto market and the dollar on chain, well, people in Argentina are using the dollar on chain to send remittances to Venezuela and Colombia, and soon they are going to start remittances with El Salvador, with this company, Crypto Market. They have also like an eBay, so you can buy basically anything with your dollars on chain. Or, for example, there is a very big company in Argentina that is called Mercado Libre. It's like the eBay from Argentina or from Latin America. And you can send them the link of Mercado Libre to them and buy whatever you want with dollar on chain. There are people using dollar on chain for savings, and there are companies using dollar on chain for savings in Argentina. And I think we are going to see the same probably in El Salvador and in Venezuela. That is starting to happen.
Wow. So, I mean, like, again, it's, I work for a company that we use Bitcoin as our treasury asset, but we are Bitcoin Magazine. That's all we live and breathe. But it's amazing to just see, companies and people around the world starting to use these things and trust these things to hold value for them, which is the most, effectively one of the most important services that you can tap into.
Yes, and it's a grassroots movement, because maybe we have seen during the last year, like corporations, Nasdaq listed companies like getting into Bitcoin in their treasuries, but that's like in this case we are talking about regular people, like regular citizens, like getting into it. So that's the other interesting thing in Latin America. It's a grassroots movement. So we will see. It will be interesting to see how it develops.
Yeah, actually, my salary, Max, is on dollar on chain right now.
Nice.
Well, one of my last questions was going to be, how are people in South America using Bitcoin and crypto today? But it's awesome to just hear the three of you talking about it. I know that Mauricio needs to leave soon. If he's the only one with a hard stop, we can keep going after he leaves. But Mauricio, I want to ask you, and I think that you may be building one of the more higher up on the stack solutions. How far has the RSK ecosystem come? Right. I feel like, again, RSK has really been getting a lot of acknowledgement recently, and a lot more volume in Bitcoin porting over. But to build, Tropykus, like, how far has RSK come?
Yeah, I think that DeFi for Bitcoin is fueling this, like the growth of RSK. It's I think that some projects like Money on Chain, like Sovereign, and in the near future Tropykus, are taking advantage of the great work of the team of RSK, and the innovation also that it's on in Ethereum to bring financial services for Latin Americans and what Bitcoiners need. So I believe that this is just starting. That is started to exploit. That is the opportunity that we see, because in Latin America, in my perspective, and not only in my perspective, the data say the same. Bitcoin is the king. Bitcoin is the cryptocurrency that is being used in the region. There are also adoption of stable coins without a doubt, like Dollar on Chain and others. But I see that DeFi for Bitcoin will be built on RSK, that is exploding right now. And it's very, very, very excited to be part of this ecosystem with all of these projects and leaders to bring the financial services that the people most need, that is the people of the developing countries. So yeah, it's a very interesting and exciting time.
So Mauricio, I know you have an important meeting coming up, so I want to give you a chance to give your last word so you can drop off. But Diego, Max, let's keep the conversation going. Mauricio, we want to give your last word to the Bitcoin Magazine audience.
Yeah, for sure. No, thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure and an honor to share this panel with Dieguito and Max. We believe that crypto, Bitcoin, and smart contracts are the key to solving the new wave of financial or to bring the new wave of financial services for Latin Americans. We are working on that, and we invited all the people that have interest on that vision to join us in the Telegram group or in the social media to use our testnet right now. And hopefully very, very soon we are going to be live and to use our Tropykus Finance protocol. And thank you for inviting me.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Diego, I mean, obviously you got to talk to you about how far RSK has come, but I'm sure the last few months and in particular, it's really, I'm sure it's expanding your imagination. You want to jump in here?
Yeah, I think it's, it's like, there are interviews I gave at the end of 2015 talking about DeFi. Of course, I was not using the acronym, but I was talking about the decentralized finance. So RSK was born with the purpose of creating an environment where Bitcoin could interact with decentralized financial protocols. So after so many years, it was a very big challenge to integrate in a safe way with Bitcoin, to keep full alignment with Bitcoin, because when you think about it, it's not only about creating a second layer protocol, but it's about, in decentralized networks, safety or security is based on the economy that the networks host. So we needed to create this second layer also in full alignment with the Bitcoin economy and the Bitcoin infrastructure. And I think that was a big challenge because the RSK blockchain don't have a separate token. Is using Bitcoin. The miners are the Bitcoin miners. But we knew that although it was tougher to build it that way, it was the right way to build a protocol that would last decades, not a few years. So the focus was not on short-term hype, but on building really foundations for the financial system of the future. And this year, RSK surpassed Lightning in total value lock. Is over 2,000 Bitcoins are locked in RSK at the moment. So that's great. Lightning keeps growing as well. So this is not a competition against the other layer 2 protocols, but it's important as a reference point. It's like Lightning is one of the most respected layer 2 protocols in the Bitcoin space. And RSK is getting a lot of traction thanks to these DeFi protocols. Sovereign, Money on Chain, Tropykus, a lot of protocols that are like bringing life and making this original vision a reality today. But for us, this is only midway, because we think we need to, of course, have all the financial services in a decentralized form, and that's what we have today. We have 3 decentralized exchanges, some of the best, if not the best, stable asset protocols in the world. We have margin trading, lending protocols. So we have all those basics, but this is also how we reach the regular people, the people who is not into crypto, because crypto has grown a lot. Maybe you have 3-5% of the population, but the challenge is how we reach everybody. And that's part of the work we are doing this year very, very heavily at the organization I lead, IOV Labs, to connect the RSK economy, that is a global economy and part of the Bitcoin economy, to connect the RSK economy with the local economies. We are targeting 4 countries in Latin America. Very likely we will add El Salvador, but it's mostly Argentina, Venezuela, Colombia, and Mexico, to make getting in and out of the RSK economy seamless and very easy for any person. And we are doing the same in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, Vietnam, and Philippines, to demonstrate how the Bitcoin ecosystem with the RSK ecosystem can provide solutions for the people. No, and so this is like where we see that we are finally connecting with the mainstream users and not only serving the crypto community. But of course, the first wave is happening thanks to the Bitcoiners, the old timers, but we want to take this into the hands of everybody. And the other thing is that we think we need also to have a truly decentralized internet infrastructure. So that's where RIF protocols are, and we are also productizing and packaging these RIF protocols. So we not only have a truly decentralized financial system, but also a truly decentralized internet, because otherwise, this financial system we are building will be attacked through access to it. So you have maybe 5 corporations in the world that are controlling access, the search engines, the marketplaces, the app stores for mobile. So our next phase is, while this DeFi ecosystem is starting to grow and be successful, we are starting also to work on the following challenges. Like, when this becomes mainstream, maybe 5 years from now, we need to have 3 to 5 years from now, we need to have the tools to protect that sovereignty, that financial sovereignty, and that implies also to have sovereignty on the infrastructure, on the internet, on the information level, and also solve the scalability problems of blockchains, because blockchains respond to a trilogy where if you want maximum security, you have to give away functionality and scalability. So you need to have ways of scaling, and that's also what RIF solves. RIF solves user experience problems, scalability problems, and interoperability problems. So we are already working on the technology that will enable this to go from 3-5% of the population into more than 20% of the population, and cross the chasm that any innovation wave has, that difficult point. So no, I'm very happy. But we are still years
so
away.
Much more.
Yeah, we need to.
In terms of crossing the chasm and being ahead of the curve, right? I feel like RSKs and RIF have kind of been ahead of and in place to kind of capture the momentum when it does finally come. So, I hope you can continue to repeat that. Max, I want to jump over to you with the same question about building on RSK, and maybe even touch on, how to get, average everyday people who are not Bitcoin enthusiasts, not smart contract enthusiasts, using this technology that you and Diego have built.
Well, we are building a stablecoin protocol. So our stablecoin protocol can be easily used by Bitcoiners and people in the crypto world that know how to configure or set up a wallet, and know how to save their words, and know how to sign a transaction. But it's kind of difficult for the normal, real people on the streets. So, but there are another companies working on giving this solution to that people. And one very nice example of that is Defiant Wallet. Defiant is a wallet that was initially made to interact with RSK, and specifically with DeFi with RSK. So they made a wonderful product that interacts directly with the money on chain protocol. You don't need to go to our site to issue or buy or sell token. And they are integrating crypto market and are integrating sovereign. So you can go from your pesos in your bank account to earning a yield on sovereign using dollar on chain with just 2 clicks. And that is amazing. And I think what will drive adoption is those kinds of tools.
Awesome. I mean, and really, it's all about UX and making people familiar with exactly, what they're getting, and then putting it in a format that people are very familiar with. And it's been really impressive just kind of seeing the evolution, right? It's like copying what's happening in fintech 10 times faster, but with so much more happening in the background, right? But on, eventually what people see, it's like, oh, this looks like the whatever fintech app I was using. Can you talk a little bit about with adoption from large merchants, like the one from Argentina that you mentioned, like Krypton markets, like what kind of questions or interactions that you're getting from actual everyday users that are using dollar on chain? Like, it's really amazing looking at this website and just seeing everything denominated in Bitcoin and dollar on chain. So like, you're making a lot of progress here.
Oh, yes. We don't run crypto markets, so we actually don't know what are the question of the people using crypto market. But I can tell you there is people using crypto markets to buy from pizza to I don't know, whatever you imagine.
The vegan pizza network, no?
Yes, exactly. And there is a big company in Argentina, but I don't remember the name of accepting those also. But basically, you should ask crypto market people.
And then electronics, I bought some of my computers from them using dollar on chain. So I think it's great. I mean, the user experience keeps getting better and better. It's still not on par with the neobank. No, let's say N26 or Revolut or Venmo in the US, Walla in Argentina. So it's still not there, but it's getting closer and closer. And that's a little bit of what we have been building in the full stack in RSK. Like, people will have nicknames and use nicknames instead of like addresses. The transactions with some layer 3 aggregation payment systems will be instant. So in non-custodial systems, because that's the challenge. Is like how we create infrastructure that can operate the same as a neobank, but it's truly centralized, it's non-custodial, preserve the ethos of Bitcoin. And it's a process, of course, no, because you have some wallets integrating these services, but they are custodial, but still, they have a gateway so people can get out of the custodial wallet into their own wallet. So it's not so bad. It's like custodial, mostly like exchange do. No? It's like you are temporarily in the hands of. And our final vision is we want a full financial system that is collectively created, where you have the financial services, the people providing the apps, but the users are fully sovereign of their assets, their information, everything. No, but we are getting there, and we're having like some very nice wins in that experience, like the ones you are mentioning.
So, we kind of got down to the individual user adoption, but zooming back up to the impetus of this conversation, which is countries adopting Bitcoin. Everyone loves predictions, and at the same time, everyone hates predictions. But I want to put you two on the spot. Based on your on the ground knowledge, who's next? What is there any? Are there any predictions on which country in Latin America is next, or maybe globally? I'll start off with Max and then go to Diego.
I have no clue, really. Maybe Paraguay, but I have no clue. I'm just guessing.
I think dollarized economies very likely are the ones of small jurisdictions are the ones that can be first movers, maybe in different flavors. Maybe it's not necessarily, because I think for a country, for example, to do a more progressive move, an option could be to have Bitcoin as a reserve asset instead of and of course adding it as legal tender, but not as the main currency that would be, I think that would be the combination. And in the future, what I think we will have is like stable assets that are also politically neutral. For example, you can create a stable asset based on indexes of commodities, the things that people need to live day by day, and that can have stability because commodities more or less have stable prices and be more connected to the needs of people instead to political needs. No, so I think we'll see different evolutionary models, but I think it will be small jurisdictions because they have is the innovator's dilemma. No, if you are the incumbent, you don't want to innovate too much. You are already top of the game. So it will be small jurisdictions, very likely the ones that have a lot of instability or hyperinflation, or the ones that are dollarized and have no control of their monetary system. So they have less to lose, because the ones that are already having like monetary policies and injecting, that's like an addiction. It's a drug. No, it's like if you already have the monetary policies in place, giving away that is very tough. So I expect the ones that have monetary systems that are like completely collapsing, or the ones that have monetary policy systems that they don't control, would be the more willingly to innovate and go this path. The other ones might incorporate, as I said, Bitcoin as legal tender as part of the central bank reserves, but I don't see them like immediately moving into Bitcoin like El Salvador did.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that, while it's interesting to think of a country doing the same thing that El Salvador did, I think what's more likely is the permissionless adoption that's happening. And that's what you two are really on the forefront of. I think maybe a country making Bitcoin legal tender maybe happened faster than a lot of Bitcoiners thought. But in terms of like adoption, Bitcoiners are pretty impatient with the on the ground adoption. Gentlemen, it was great having you both on the show. I want to give you both a chance to kind of close out and plug yourself. Diego, let's start with you and then close it out with Max.
As I said, this is a year where Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies mass adoption starts, not only because of what we discussed today, but there's a lot of other trends like what's happening with NFTs and different areas where other parts of the society that were untouched are getting involved into crypto. So I think this is the beginning of mass adoption for crypto, Bitcoin and crypto in general. And I think Latin America, as I said, will be at the core of it, mostly because of the financial needs more than the other movements. But I see Latin America as one of the epicenters of this revolution. So I'm happy we got to this point after so many years of evangelizing, building technology, building communities. I think our moment has come to see, the fruits of that much, all the work we have been doing. So.
Well, cheers, and bullish for South America and Latin America in general. Max.
Yes.
Well, I think that this is a huge opportunity for Bitcoin and for the Bitcoin community, because now we have kind of responsibility to make the things work for El Salvador. So I think this is a wonderful challenge for the Bitcoin community in general, and in particular for Latin American Bitcoin community.
Where can people find you, Max?
Sorry?
Where can people find you?
I didn't get you.
Sorry, where can people find you online?
Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter at Cajurzaa, and much more easy, you can go to moneyonchain.com, and we have a community page there.
Awesome. All right. Well, again, gentlemen, great to have you. Everyone, follow both Diego and Max. Go follow Mauricio. Go follow the Tropykus project. Check out what's happening in South America and check out what's happening in the RSK ecosystem. But until then, catch me at Bitcoin Magazine and at CK_snarks, and keep stacking stacks. Peace.
Thank you, CK. Great.
Bye.